I'm in Namibia for a whole month, leading 2 different workshops on the same itinerary. I've just left my awesome first group of people at the airport and picked up my second group. We cruised again past the quiver trees and ghost towns of the south and have headed west into the dunes of Sossusvlei. Good morning, guys. This is my 6th or 7th time in Sossusvlei, and I thought I wanted to give myself a bit of a challenge this time. Coming here, so I'm not allowing myself to shoot a wide angle of any sort, not even 400 millimeters. In fact, the only thing I'm shooting the whole time we're in Sossusvlei this time is the 500 millimeter f4, which is typically like a bird and wildlife photography lens. This is version 1, and this is going to be a bit of a challenge, but to be honest, this is probably the one place that landscape photography with a long lens kind of does work, or a really long lens, because the dunes are just so far off and there's shapes and stuff, so should be fun. Of course, the one time that I decided to use a really long lens here is also the one time that there's actually color and clouds here. Go figure. I fought the conditions a bit this morning, trying to focus on details, like this dead tree twisting up a red dune background, this hazy dreamscape, or, you know, this other dead tree. But this was turning out to be trickier than I expected. Yeah, this is proving to be crazy challenging because the sky was really cool. And my compositions can't have sky, it's just too much lens. If I go and try to pick off the top of dunes to get some sky, it just doesn't look good. You can't really tell it's a dune. So this was definitely the wrong morning to do this video. But we have like 3 full days here, or 2 full days here, so photos will be made with the 500 millimeter lens. As the sun rose, an oryx wandered across my landscape. And I know it's a bit of a cop-out to do wildlife photography, but the moment was too good to miss. Okay, as if this sunrise didn't go bad enough, we had a sandstorm last night, knocked over the tents, did not sleep. And then the sandstorm got worse again midday today and knocked down the tents, and we've been cleaning up camp all day, and I'm sorry I didn't film that, but was busy. Continuing the stupidity of this landscape photography at 500 millimeters, we're heading to Deadflay that way. I've photographed it many times. And every time I go there, I find photos. I love it. Never have I ever imagined shooting it at 500 millimeters. I really don't think this is gonna work. It's hard to decide if it's the lack of sleep or the 500 millimeter lens causing me stress. But I can start to feel myself slipping into excuses for this challenge. Still, if there's any location in the world where great landscape images are to be found at 500 millimeters, it's probably Deadflay. Okay, I'm gonna have to pretend to be clever here because this is tough. I actually even just pulled up the 500 on a tree that I wanted to photograph, and it was too long to get the whole tree in the frame. So I'm gonna maybe just look for maybe shots that have a part of a tree in the foreground and then the full tree in the background or something. I honestly have no idea. It's really hard to train your eye to see in focal distances. So this is actually pretty good practice, trying to imagine what 500 millimeter looks like as I'm just walking around rather than seeing what my eye sees. Right now, I see a challenge I'm struggling with. Slightly demoralized, I again started to cheat on my landscape photography challenge by photographing a raven on a branch. And yes, the photos are good, but I can't help but feel that this isn't in the spirit of the challenge. Eventually, I kind of just give up and set my camera on the ground. I think I actually found something. I really was struggling, actually, pretty obviously. But something kind of clicked when I realized that I was having trouble with like getting everything in focus. And I was thinking, the only things that are working are single trees and they're kind of boring. But also, whenever I put a second tree in, the second tree's out of focus, and I just went, let's play with depth of field a little bit. And I literally just set the camera down on the ground and started picking out some trees in the background, and you get this nice soft blurriness in the bottom of the frame. And even though it's a simple one tree image, it kind of works and almost seems like it's the only thing I can do with the 500 millimeter. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I just randomly occasionally go around and sit on the ground and look for a frame, and I'm having fun. It's so easy to fall into the trap of believing that all landscape photography images need to have everything in focus. I'm constantly asked about things like focus stacking. But personally, I almost never focus stack. I like creating depth. And in this case, I use an extreme case of depth of field to create that depth. It gives a three-dimensional image to a two-dimensional medium. And as soon as I started to embrace the shallow depth of field, the images just started flowing. My eyes started embracing the simplicity of deadplay, and I started seeing the world at 500 millimeters. I even managed some pretty epic images of participants in my workshop. Okay guys, I'm in the future back in my studio in Portugal, and I kind of want to talk about this video quick because it was kind of, it's a funny video to look back on. It's now been 2 months since I filmed it, and what I see in the footage versus what it felt like in reality are so far apart. When I was there in the moment in Namibia, I was so frustrated photographing at 500 millimeters. I was really struggling and I was hating every image that I was taking, and I just felt like I was missing out on things and I was struggling. But looking back at the images, I love them. And looking back at the photos, they're some of my favorites that I've taken in Namibia. And I think it's very easy when you set up a challenge for yourself to get FOMO, to feel like you're missing out on other photos and not focusing on what you are achieving. And I also think when you narrow your focus down by using like a prime lens, it really simplifies the process of photography for you and allows you to create simpler, better images. So I love the images I took. I didn't love taking them. Well, that's not true. I love taking them. I just didn't love how they looked after I took them. And I guess this is another lesson. Don't ever judge your photos as how they look on the back of your camera. Judge them when you get them home and you finished editing them. Don't get demoralized by what's happening in the field. Wait until you get them home and edited before you start feeling demoralized. So yeah, 1, I love the photos that came out of this. And 2, I gave up. The reason that I'm talking right now is because after we photographed dead flay, we went back the next morning and I had my 500 millimeters. I was ready to shoot again, and the sky just exploded. I have never seen clouds in Sosa's flay, and there was just insane clouds all over at sunrise. And at a certain point I was like, screw the challenge, I need to capture this unique moment. So I'm going to share some of those photos from that morning that I didn't film, but was pretty special. And there's like 2 or 3 photos here that I really like. This is kind of a strange image. And you remember that when I was doing the photo vultures video, the landscape photography photo vultures video, I found this location, this composition. I went back to it and I did like a really watered down, desaturated version of it that I really like. I have a full punchy color version of it as well that I also really like. I think it's an awesome image actually. I'm happy with both of them. And yeah, some more long exposure stuff with these taller trees. This one I framed a tree in the middle, and I really like this image, although I do wish that there wasn't those 2 trees off to the left. Yeah, and that's about it. The trip to Sossusvlei was totally awesome because of the clouds, but also maybe gave me a lot of FOMO because of the clouds. We went back and photographed the classic dune shot in Sossusvlei as well, and got a sky there as well. So I guess here's that photo to end this video. And I just want to end this video by saying, don't be demoralized until you've edited your photos. And give yourself a challenge, especially if you've been to a location a number of times. It allows you to see it through different eyes. And it's good practice. And I'll be back with another video and another challenge actually next time. I'm going to do wildlife photography at 1,000 millimeters. I'll see you there. Peace.